friends of the Civic Space TV and viewers of the community show. Welcome to this episode of the community show. Today we shall focus on a very important aspect of society, which is education. And in particular, we shall be drawing insight or touching a light into the status of schools in Uganda. Let me begin by rephrasing the words of a very powerful man, Nelson Mandela, who one time said that if you want to develop a nation, then educate its people. I guess such words and many others inform the interest of this particular episode of the community show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the community show. And I shall take this opportunity to introduce our panelists who have already joined us. And when I introduce you, I will ask you to say hello to our viewers and say anything more about yourself, and then we can, I'll then later on put to all of you your first question. So Masagazi Steven, who is the chairperson of the youth of Buwama Town Council, has joined us already. Steven, you're most welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Masagazi Steven, a youth chairperson, Buwama Town Council, and I also work with Joy Uganda, and I'm good to have you here.
Okay, thank you very much, Steven. The second panelist who has joined us is Musoke Charlse. Musoke is a teacher and also an educationist. Charles, many thanks for joining us. Say hello to our viewers.
Okay, thank you. Good evening to my fellow Ugandans. My name is Musoke Charlse, a teacher at Buwama High. I also work with Joy Uganda. And then we are here in Buwama Town Council, PG District. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. The third panelist who has joined us already is Mr. Elicana Nduhuura. Elicana is a global health scholar. Elicana, many thanks for joining us and you are welcome. Say hello to our viewers.
Awesome. Thank you, Comrade Kidega, for the welcome. My name is Educationist and Elicana Nduhuura and I'm a global health scholar, like he has just said. I'm an education activist and I stay here in Mbarara, the southwestern part of Uganda. I'm glad to join the discussion with fellow panelists. Looking forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Let us begin straight away with the teacher or educationist, Mr. Charles Musoke. Charles, I believe that at least you're privileged to be with students on a daily basis or pupils for that matter. So let me just begin with you as a teacher. What is the state of schools in Uganda? Just from your own perspective as someone who spends most of his time in schools.
Okay, thank you. And then when you actually talk about the status of schools, you should actually talk about the 5 people that we actually find in schools. That is the director, teachers, students, and parents. Those are the core people we normally see in schools. When I see such a topic, I really pick this question in my mind. What is the real picture of schools in Uganda today? Due to the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, which has led to the 2 years of the lockdown, schools are not in a well condition or situation as such. These are the few that I have or that I can really exchange with my fellow Ugandans. I will start by teachers because I'm a teacher. I know what mean by a teacher. Due to this due to this COVID-19 pandemic, many teachers have so far changed their attitudes from teaching to other different businesses like border borders, like going to the garden, like joining chapat businesses. So teachers are now doing different businesses, leave alone being at school, led to the part-timing in private schools, because teachers have been earning much than what they have been getting at school. Then another thing that I can talk about the status of schools, it is the school loans in bank. So school loans from bank, which has led to the deterioration of schools, most especially private schools or institutions. Therefore, that's why private schools have started calling upon the support from the government and not only support, and even to take over their schools. Then another point that I can raise to my fellow Ugandans, it is the new curriculum for lower secondary level. For this curriculum, this is what I have. It is like a challenge to all we teachers, because they have brought this curriculum yet when the teachers are not yet trained to carry out this learning system. Therefore, the government, they would have carried so many seminars to actually to train teachers how they will go up or moving on with this new learning system, because more teaching learning methods, more teaching learning skills have so far happened in this curriculum. Then another point, it is school fees. School fees has so far increased, most especially in the private schools, due to high costs of human essential commodities like soap, then sugar, and among others. And even on the side of government schools, we have now seen some unpayable or unnecessary payments. We see it as a government school now telling students or learners to bring some little bit of money. Then another point to raise, it is the high cost of fuel. You see what is now happening in Uganda. If it is not only Uganda, but I will majorly talk about Uganda. High costs of fuel, which has led to the confusion in the transport system. Many teachers have not yet gone to school, are not going to school because of that high transport. Others, they are just reaching there late because of high costs of transport, then among others. So that is what I have for the status of schools in Uganda. As long as there are many and many, I think some of my colleagues are going to talk about them. There are some other points, and inclusiveness in schools, not of taking disabled students as students. There are so many points like child's feeding at school, then status. There are so many points. Then accordingly, that is what I have as a teacher within my community. I think I can give a microphone to my fellow colleague, Mr. Masagazi Steven, so far to have a word to my fellow Ugandans. Thank you, Moses.
Okay, Thank you, Charles. Charles, it is me who gives out the microphone, but thank you for extending the courtesy to.
Let me
That's
return
okay.
back later.
Yes. But still, nonetheless, thank you for trying to extend the courtesy to a colleague. But well, Stephen, Charles has already preempted the thought that I had of actually bringing you next. So I'll just come to you straight away. And before we even delve deeper into the state of schools in terms of the infrastructure, can we look at it in terms of the study system, like the curriculum in this case? Mr. Charles has mentioned the aspect of the curriculum, and he seemed to suggest that this curriculum was maybe premature and teachers did not understand how best to go about this curriculum. As a youth leader, as someone who has the mandate to mobilize young people to, go to school and things like that, do you think that this curriculum is something that Ugandans should embrace?
Yes, Moses, thank you. Since I'm a politician at the stage of the youth, let me begin with the government. When I talk of the new curriculum, there are no reason of the government planning for the people without the people. The first thing that it should have done is to tamper the people considered as the education officials, such that they should be part of that new curriculum. The new curriculum, it should have been good, but it was planned without the people's ideas, like the teachers, whereby it may be hard for them to understand and to conquer with it. That is about the curriculum. The government should go back and plan for the people with the people. There we shall have success with the new curriculum. Then the government has reduced the funding in the schools. That has also brought a problem in education, whereby it has the government 20 years back, when we had the minister Namirembe Bitamazire, let me talk of Mpigi in that sector. Students used to go to school and they were supposed to eat by this, but when it comes to this time, people do not eat. I want to show you the difference between people going to school when they should have to eat, and the times of now when you just paid the school fees, since there is UPE, UCE, UP, and that of the secondary level. That is also a problem. The government reduced the funding in that status. When I talk of the electors in schools have loans, have said, the infrastructures are the physical status of the infrastructures, like the buildings, are some have lost the paints, so that they are not in good condition to conduct education. The third factor, it goes to the parents. Due to the poor standards of their income in families, there is high costs of commodities. They cannot afford those things for the students to go back to school. It's also malice. For the fourth, I go to the students. Since we had a break of almost 2 years in COVID, students diverted to businesses, which has become a problem to pick courage back to schools. They earn money, and they always claim that they go to school to have knowledge, to acquire money. since they have money, why should they go back to school?
Thank you. These are opening remarks, so I'll pick up my follow-up questions from what you've said in these opening remarks. But for now, let me bring in Elicana. Elicana, you are a global health scholar, and health by all means is a factor of education or an aspect of education. I'll give you the same opportunity to let us know, from your own perspective, what is the status of not just schools in Uganda, but the general education system in Uganda? Elicana, the floor is yours.
It's an interesting topic. As an educationist, the same. By definition, health is a state of complete well-being. It is physical, psychological, social. So it's diverse. Now, education in Uganda, I will start reflecting on my journey. I started from the ghetto school, what we can call a village school. So for those of you who have not gotten a chance to go to local schools, this is a school where, of course, you leave home, local families, fireworks, maybe matoke. So you reach there, the teacher will come to class if they are available anyway, because sometimes no one cares. Then time will come, they will tell you maybe now go for break. We would have 3 breaks. Yeah, a break would take like 1 hour and a half. So it I would have like 4 hours of playing around. Yeah, and then the adults on the day you're going to clean the infrastructure, the classroom. This is a classroom that is muddy or made of dust, real dust. It's not cemented like most of you think schools look like. So you're asked to come with kawdanga. So you're there for smearing. Yeah, there's for cleaning everything around. So literally, you spend much time doing things that are maybe you have teachers. So I grew up in that system. Yes, even I did my primary in a ghetto. I made it, went to secondary school. So reaching secondary school, this was at same urban. So it's not a ghetto, but it's also not the extreme sad word schools. Yeah. But regardless, I took much of my time going back to the village. Even now, I go there, I visit schools, I take some camps, what I can call educative camps. I organize colleagues, we go there and visit students and learners to instill a culture of reading, working hard, so they can be some people, because I've been able to come up to that system. Now, when you go back there, this is now what I want to tell you, the situation of the current educational program in Uganda. When you go there, almost 2/3 of Uganda still has the same system. Rudimentary structures where learners are just there, no one cares about them, they are not secure, their education is not catered for, maybe partly their parents have not been able to manage the fees, maybe the teachers are not motivated, or maybe even their parents have paid the money, but the administration have not used the money. So it's 2-sided. So I will start with the curriculum, then end with the infrastructure. Now, the curriculum. You realize there were formerly 4 subjects in primary school. 4. SST, English, science, and mathematics. So 4 basic ones for these government institutions and even some of the private schools. So 4. Now, this is where you find the 2 teachers are enough for those subjects. 2 teachers like this, they are catering for 4 subjects. Now, this is a school of about 7 classes if they offer candidate class. So you'll find out of the 2, they have incorporated like other maybe 2 senior teachers. Then the other one for this other P1, which has many components, A, B, C, like that. So you find there is already one teacher is having too much work to do, of course, they are going to hire the teacher on condition that they are going to deliver, let's say, 2 subjects. But the teacher is supposed to deal with 1 subject and pay attention to it. Why are they doing that? Because the system where there's no money and there's no way to have all those teachers. When I don't have the money, why are we not having the money? 1, maybe the government resourcing is low, or 2, if it's a private sector, the administration with that money, because the parents are paying the money, because if you ask to give more money, then it means it's going to charge more money for the parents, and that means runners will go to other schools where they pay less money. So it's a balance. It's a balance. Now, if you go to secondary, you all know this issue of the curriculum. You guys, now, this is where the government, after a review of that system, they're like, now they're going to teach basic practical things, so they change the curriculum. Now the curriculum was changed at a point where teachers were not ready. I have my friends who are teachers who were just in training and they were switching to the professional life. They were purely not ready at all. And even the training for the new curriculum was done in this school. I used to see schools like Bryce. The people were going for those. Now, the teacher, the very teacher, there's no money for facilitation. There's no motivation, something which is essential and basic for our friends or our children or our brothers and sisters. And they are going to deliver something they have not studied. Someone came with curriculums, but now is going to teach something totally different. So the preparation, because and the learner. So if the teacher is not confident about what they are going to deliver, then surely, what is the learner going to pick? You know, that's a contradiction. So that's where we lost it on that curriculum. To me, the curriculum was not well prepared. There was not a way paved properly for it to be incorporated into the current system. Now, what other factors surround the curriculum? There is a striking issue of in secondary, you know, there's a point where you choose the subjects. So some schools made the subjects compulsory because of their own interests. Maybe it is religious basis. Maybe you're in a certain religious school and Sarah is compulsory. Then you are in another school, it's a foreign school and agriculture is a compulsory. But learners are forced to do certain things because they are supposed to be done, and it's not their choice. Yet we are in a system where we anticipate people to compete and develop talents in areas which they need. That's a challenge. If I'm compelled to do agriculture, maybe because it is a farm school or it is a school that prioritizes agriculture and I don't like it, it means I'm missing out on something I should have studied, you know? So this is a point where I think somehow we need to have standards, like a gold standard of what is studied in each school, but also reach at a point of where we say what is beneficial for a learner, or how is the learner compensated in terms of what they want to pursue. Because we are in a situation where we expect education to transform the community, transform our society. You know, it beats my understanding. Let's go to the infrastructure. Entirely for government institutions, it's government funding the infrastructure. Of course, under the partnership of those things like World Bank, education agencies, UNICEF, whatsoever. Now, let me first talk about the general infrastructure in the school. 1, buildings are not enough. For me, where I studied from, even where I go back to visit, even the other communities I visit, buildings are not enough in the government institutions. Now, where they seem to be enough, they are not complete, like they are non-functional. You will say structure, loft, but no glass windows, no doors, no ventilation. So in such a class, if runners are there and it's raining, you know, the heavy downpour will just run on them. And there's nothing like running in such an environment purely. Because even when you're in your own house and it is roofed, there is a way you feel when it is raining. Now imagine the runners are in class, it's open, there's wind, rain, and it's really traumatizing. So the structures you see, and maybe you think, hey, these ones, when you're passing by, and maybe you're riding your border, you're like, hey, these guys have very many buildings, but written on ground, they are not complete. Now, those areas where the buildings are really ramshackle. I recently had my pictures from a trip in the village I took near where I studied from. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. The government has started a structure. It's there. It's been there for 2 years, not complete. No one cares. The administration, they don't care. For 2 years, money, they have no help. Maybe, as they tell you this, maybe it was misused. The local government, they don't seem to care. And the runners are there. The building is about to collapse. And runners go there every day. And no one comes to their roof. Then it is at this point that some parents, when they see situations, then a parent will be like, now why is my child here? I'm risking their life. So they are likely taking them out of school. You know? So this is now the negligence is happening. Parents have, but also the government has failed, especially on the follow-up of those ministries, the different departments we have in different areas. Then another issue is with the health care in the schools. Once again, you understand by primary 6, a girl of 14 nowadays, she's menstruating at this age. So I'm a scientist, by that's the definition. That's the age bracket. School going girl, 14, and menstruating. Now we expect, according to the many policies that the Ministry of Education and Sports Gender Unit has said, we're expecting menstrual hygiene standards, facilities that can promote good menstrual hygiene, like areas where girls can go and feel comfortable, maybe change padding or maybe call a matron and say this and this is happening. Now, for God's sake, all the schools are listed in my community. There's only one church school that has something resembling such a structure. The rest, there's no provision. And I wonder how our sisters survive. It's traumatizing. Remember, the learning environment contributes a big chunk of what actually grasps in their mind, and also influences how they are going to do things when they are also in a position of power like that. You know? So this webinar or this conversation is really timely to stimulate our thoughts, to stimulate our feelings, to put things into practice, and spread as much voice as we can so that all of us get involved. I know we have more time, so I can stop here for now and listen from other colleagues. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Elicana. Let me come back to you, Charles. Charles, what is your view about universal primary education or universal secondary education? Do you think that there are some benefits that come with this particular government mode of service delivery in terms of education? Do you think UPE and USE have some advantages, or it is purely disadvantages that come with UPE and USE?
Well, UPE and USE, I can't say that it has no advantages. There are so many advantages because many students were not at school. Now they are able to go to acquire knowledge and skills. But many students were not able to go to school. Now the room is there. As long as you mature, you can gain acquire knowledge and skills from schools. But due to low salaries of teachers, students do not acquire what they're supposed to acquire from schools. As you are seeing now, science teachers have been on demonstration. I don't know whether they're still on demonstration. So a government should really plan each and everything with their people, not of planning what they have thought to their people, but they need also to come and plan with the people they are dealing with. Then another thing that I can talk about is UPE and USE. It is what Elicana has talked about of poor studying conditions. Buildings are not enough. Students are going there, but buildings are not not enough. Not only buildings, and even teachers. We expect at least 53 students to have one teacher, but then you can find a school of like 500 students with 5 teachers or 4. So now it would have been better it would have been better to use this USA and UPE, but government again needs to skyrocket the salaries of teachers, the learning condition of learners, and so many other things. Thank you, Moses.
Okay. Thank you, Charles. Steven, let me come to you. And I'll just try to not deviate from what I've just asked Mr. Charles, the issue around government versus private-led education, system. Yeah. Do you think that our approach should be more of the private sector? Should we encourage more private schools to come up? Or you think that the private schools are rather too expensive and that they are more profit-oriented, so they don't end up offering the services that are desired by the learner? Or you think that we should go with maybe UPE or USE or the government mode of education system because of the advantages that come with it? So what is your take between government versus private sector-led education approach?
Thank you, Moses. For the UPE and the private sector in education, for the UPE and USE, the government program, one teacher is required to have 53 students in a school. If the government is not capable of giving 53 students one teacher, now why should UPE? Now why should UPE be proceeding? For the private sector, when it comes to salaries and the service delivery, they are quite good. Because at times, the teachers at school at all this time, a student acquire what should be given, all the programs are done in time. Now it's the beginning of term. Students in private sector, they're already in school. Though the cost of the school fees, everything is high, but they deliver service to the students. The only problem is that the people are in a situation that they are not able to go in private sectors in education because it costs high, but for the services, they are quite good. And I end up saying that the private sectors, mostly in our areas, they are quite good than the government sector. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Steven. Elicana, I hope you're still with us. Let me just extend the same question to you so that I equally get your own opinion regarding this subject matter. Are you for private sector led or are you for government sector led in terms of education approach? Yeah. So of recent, I saw that science teachers were trying to agitate to have their salaries increased. And to me, this, I think, portrayed not a very good image. It's like as if the arts teachers, the teachers who teach humanities, are less important in our education sector. So I think that they are equally important. And if government is to increase the salaries of science teachers, I think they should extend the same courtesy to even the arts teachers. Let me just get your views on that, beginning with Steven.
Mr. Moses, on that program, it's known that they are not advantageous, those arts teachers. And I think the government should also inform these science teachers. And they should, maybe with the viewers on that matter, we should be informed how good, better is art, is sciences. Because other considerations, when it comes to sciences, those people are really more important. But they are not anything good without anything backing its stability. And in education, those are the two people I need them. It's back to the government to make structures that those people should follow when it comes to governments. Because the science teachers, I think they are more. They have a big number in the country, and I don't think they work much. The time they spend in schools is more than those of arts, and I don't know the difference between why they should be paid arts. That should back to the government chair. On that matter, I beg to submit.
Thank you for that. Kana, I see your back. Can you what is your network now? Okay, Kana, I asked you earlier on whether you're for private sector led or for government sector led means of approach towards education. What's your own take regarding that?
Definitely multi-stakeholder based person, collaborative. Government must work hand in hand with the private sector to have a better education system for us. Why do I say this? You not brought you of students and pupils, which was not possible with this private entity alone. It breaks the monotony of the private people and the dangers that come with privatization. Like I told you, personally, I went for UPE throughout all my 7 years of primary education, and actually my 4 part of my 4 years of secondary education, government fee, and it saved much my parent. Literally, we were very many children, and it was hard to have education if it was to be a private entity, because I know people were going to first class schools paying fees of 700. That means I wouldn't be in school now, wouldn't be knowing these things. So it's a balanced boat, Government should give education, and then private should also give education. Why private? Why do I also support private? There is a person who may not go to school where I went to, but also want to study. Maybe they think their children are not safe in such an environment, and they can manage a better option, So they can go there and also have education instead of having homeschooling. They go there and they study. So what needs to be done for the two systems to work better is the supervision and the patriotism. When I bring in a patriotism, it becomes like a bigger concept. But simply, I'm not going political. I'm going into the love for our own country and loving what we do specifically. If you are in a school as a teacher, you must be interested in the school, because when you're applying or when you're being given a job on basis of trust and the credibility, So you must fit into the school. You must like the school. You must feed the cow that you milk. You know, you should look at the runners as your employees, as your employers. I had a certain teacher who used to say, you cannot fail to feed the chicken that is laying for you eggs. You know, so when a teacher is in school, let them pay attention. Let them focus. Let them not spend much time in the village absconding from duty. You know, that's what patriotism does. It's your head teacher. And there has been a parent general meeting, and maybe I've raised the fees by 10,000 just for a building. Please put up the building, you know. Let it not take 5 years to wait for another head teacher also to raise the same money and also leave not building the structure. You know, it's patriotism. If you are the parents, if you think the 5,000 can do a good job in a school, suggest it as a parent, compress yourselves, give the 5,000. And make sure you follow it up. You know, these meetings, the committees they have, Parents Teachers Association, the PTA, is the formal association that runs the school. These are the parents. Board is sometimes business, but PTA is something for the school. Let the parents focus. Let them see that things which they discuss in the meetings are implemented at least. Let someone who is the chair not just go there and sleep, you know. And also, as a community member, even if you don't have, you're not on the board or something, if you see something not going wrong, call the community members, sit and discuss what's wrong with our school, you know, because when the school is good, it's producing good learners with good results, and your area is trending, you know, it's a responsibility of everyone. And then there is this issue of parents leaving the schools in their communities, and they take children to other areas very far. Even teachers of the very schools, even administrators of the very schools. For sure, if you run in the school and you believe in your potential, why are you taking your child or your runner to another school? Yet you know you have the potential to make your school better. Because most of them are not taking them for any other reason. The reason is because they know their school is not performing, it's not going to give results. That's a patriotism I'm talking about. If you had your learner there, at least one or a relative, you'd be working up to they perform and they make the school better. They give you a good running environment. You know, this is all about the patriotism. Then to the funders, the people who give money, these people can be church-aided institutions. It can be maybe donors like World Bank programs. I've seen a global professional education initiative that funds the education system almost in Africa. Let them reach on the ground. You know, these things of discussing things in ministries, in the boardrooms, I'm not happy with these things. And it's one of the reasons why when I go to these camps, when I mobilize my friends and go to these schools, we want to see the students, the learners themselves. We hear from them. We even go some questionnaires. We get what they say. There is a lot to discover. Boardrooms are not solutions for these problems. Let the funders visit schools, reach there. You also say structure, then you assess. Is this really what you have been paying for? Then hold the people. That way, patriotism will help us, and the private public engagement will make the education system better. But yes, UCE, USE and UPE should be there, should not go anywhere. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Charles, let me come back to you. And, you know, whereas we were discussing the status of the education sector, I think we shouldn't miss out on the aspect of the welfare of the teachers. First of all, are you a science or an arts teacher?
I'm an art teacher.
Okay, perfect. So now the question is around the welfare of teachers, because I don't think that a teacher who is delivering knowledge but has rent to pay, you know, probably their rent is due, you know, probably they came to school under very tough conditions, maybe they walked very long distances. I believe such conditions will by all means affect the delivery of the knowledge to the learners. So do you think that the status of welfare of teachers is where it has to be, or government needs to do some more?
Well, Moses, there is a point that you have skipped where I was actually put my mind. It was the question you have asked Stephen, whether giving or increasing salary for science is normal, not of increasing for those at the teachers. Just assume that you are the head of a family. You have daughters and sons at home. Then you have bought meat and chicken for some children, and then you have bought beans for some. You not to be looked as a good head, as a good father. So if it is a bread at home, let us all eat bread. If there is cassava at home, let us eat what? Cassava. And then I was at a certain workshop of this new curriculum. They have trained us to look at the main interest of the learner. So if we are looking at the interest of the learner, we should not look at for those ones who are scientists naturally. So I can give you an example. Ronaldo, this player of Man U, is he a scientist or is he an artist? So we should not look at sciences only, but we should look at where we can prepare our learners to become more important in this world. That's why those first-class countries are now growing day and night. It is only because they do not look at specific they do not look at some areas, and they leave out somewhat. They leave out somewhat some people. Then on the issue I've asked whether welfare is very important to we teachers. It is not only even teachers, and even even learners. Yes, yet I've eaten. What about whom I'm going to give knowledge? Whom I'm going to give skills? So it means welfare, feeding. That I've talked about that issue when I was really looking at the status of the schools. We need to eat well so that we can deliver well knowledge and skills. Though we need also to make sure that our learners have eaten, because there is no any way how you can milk a cow without giving that cow pasture. So I would maybe like to submit, Moses.
Yes. Sorry, Charles, I had lost you for a second, but I believe that your point was driven home. Yeah. Stephen, let me come to you. The issue of the high school fees being charged by private teachers. Do you think that there is a solution, or there is a way that government can intervene to maybe regulate or set standard school fees prices, or do you think that it is totally impossible for government to intervene and set maybe maximum or minimum school fees prices beyond which given private institutions should not charge? Do you think that government has that capacity, or the private players tend to dictate how much they charge?
For the government, it goes back again to the government, because for the private sectors, they pay money to own those businesses, because schooling is a business when it comes in terms of money. When someone makes a school, it's a business, because the government sector stand, it pays money to the government to own the institution. The government schools, in the government schools, when the government says that a student should give maybe 10,000, when the government when the school organizing committee or maybe the PTA sits down and sets the money that should be paid by the student, you will find that money is different from what the government has is different from what the government has given for the parents to pay. Because for the government, it states that when the child comes to school, maybe the government should give 20K for the student to be in school. Then the school says that a student should pay maybe 30. The government, that money to be paid, the school should write to the government in procedures, maybe from the chairperson LC3 to the person is considering the schools in the district for the students to pay that money, which is not clear. And in schools, the government cannot go to the private sector and say that the students should pay this money and this, because when the government is paid this money, it's money, as in a tax. It goes back to the owner of the school. It stands a chance to him to say that the students should pay this money because he or she has already paid the tax that was considered by the government. The government should not say that you should pay this and this, because it was given the tax. Then it goes back to the owner of the school to say that students should pay this money. I beg to submit.
Okay. Thank you very much, Stephen. So we are coming to the end of this particular conversation. So I am going to give each and every one of you 2 minutes to make your last words on the show. Maybe it can be a recommendation, a way forward. How do we proceed from the crisis that the education sector is facing today? But just before we do that, let me just ask one last question to Mr. Elicana. Elicana, the issue of teenage pregnancies in schools, I've seen the government saying that the boy who gets the girl pregnant should equally be, asked to leave school. I think that this one way or another will affect the psychological status of learners. So Elicana, your issue, as a health scholar, what do you think should be the remedy for teenage mothers who have gotten pregnant, but at the same time have to continue with their education? So when you respond to that, Elicana, you also give us your recommendations and way forward regarding the education sector. Then I'll come to Charles and Steven so that they can give us their last words on the show as well. So Elicana, the floor is yours.
You see, even Jesus was like, you slapped on one cheek, you turn the second one. So you don't reverse the cheek, but just turn the second cheek, they slap there. Literally, Jesus was saying, you forgive. So I don't see a solution in saying that if a boy hurts a girl, then the boy also is stopped from going to school. It doesn't make sense, because that is not like a threat you're using to prevent it from happening. We know the causes of most of pregnancies. The first in those local schools are very about where there are no sanitary facilities, where parents don't care about the learners, where the teachers themselves also don't care about the learners, where they have less time to monitor and supervise adolescents. When a young boy who has been failing his bananas to town and getting some meets this vulnerable girl who has never seen a good handkerchief to give those things. The girl is an adolescent, hormones are working, there's nothing relations and therefore with no protection, with no knowledge about contraception or with no empowerment to say no, they'll get pregnant. So what does it call? It calls for all of us, from parents, provide for people, try as much as possible to understand what these girls are going through. One, so that you can, for example, give them the sanitary materials or improvise the local solutions. Tell them that this can help you. Do not accept this from this man or boy or head teacher or teacher. Use this to work for you. Let the girl know the dangers. Also, deal with this poor child. If pregnant, either they will arrest you or you will be a father at a young age, do not make money, something like that. These people understand. You know, the problem with our country is insight, understanding, the knowledge about the subject, you know. That's what we do. When you go to schools, let the teachers be empowered. Adolescent education is important. Let them be empowered. Let them look at the learners as learners, not as the sexual materials. You know, let's stop this teacher-learner relationship in terms of sex and these material things. Let them look at them as their brothers if they're still young. You know, it's important. That's still patriotism. I will not stop emphasizing the issue.
To cater out to my issue of looking at every Ugandan in a form of equality. Let us all be equal. As we are equal in front of God, on the table of God, let us all be equal. Don't just tell someone or some people to go and eat cassava while others are eating bread. And then another thing to talk about, it goes to the government to come back to the ground when they are planning for the people. Let these people be involved in their planning. You should go back to the ground. You exactly pick what is on the ground. Then you go back to the table. You plan for your people. I thank you for this opportunity. I beg
Okay.
to submit.
Thank you, Charles. Stephen, the floor is yours.
Yes, Mr. Moses. I would like to thank all the participants for the participation and thank the Center for Constitutional Governance for the opportunity and for sharing with us these all the good ideas. I'm really hopeful to be with you, and I hope let this continue. It will help us to have some knowledge and to know distant things from us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Charles. Thank you very much, Stephen. And thank you very much, Elicana, for sparing the time to be with us. It has been an amazing conversation, and I'm sure that our viewers have learned something. And also, we have also learned something from within ourselves. Otherwise, this brings us to the end of the conversation. And from us to you, see you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.